Good evening, everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. The NIA, which investigated the murder of Hindu Bajrang Dal activist Harsha in Shivamogga in February earlier this year, has filed a 750 pages charge sheet, and it is confirming everyone's worst fears. This was indeed a meticulously planned hate crime and meant as a message to the larger Hindu community. The charge sheet says that Harsha was killed with the motive of creating fear amongst Hindus in the state, as the assailants felt that the Muslim community is being looked down upon in Karnataka post the Hijab row. Imagine, the way to fight for your community, even if rightly or wrongly you felt it was being hard done by, was not greater advocacy, but to brutally slaughter a Hindu man. How does that help the Muslim community? It creates only greater societal divides, fissures and hatred. Perhaps that was the motive itself. Then we have to ask, are some elements hell-bent that there can be no peace in the name of minority rights? What they actually want is a slow, constant civil war. And are some willingly or unwittingly supporting these efforts because it helps their political and ideological motives? We will take that question to our guests in just a bit. But first, based on the statement of witnesses, recoveries of blood-stained weapons and clothes worn by the accused, CCTV footages, FSL reports and CDR analysis, the NIA has claimed in its charge sheet that it is clearly established that the 8 prime accused formed themselves into a terrorist gang, conspired and hacked the Harsha to death by using lethal weapons. Let me first break down some details of this charge sheet. The accused targeted Harsha as a plan to terrorize Hindus. This is what the NIA charge sheet clearly mentions. They developed a hatred towards Hindus due to issues like the Hijab row, CAA and NRC. They conspired against Bajrang Dal because of their activism in cow protection activities as well. They formed a terrorist gang of 8 members and even shouted Kafir slurs while conducting the murder. They wanted to spread terror, ill will, hatred and communal disharmony. All accused belong to Shivamogga itself. They formed a gang, as I mentioned, and did detailed planning of the acts. Here is how. The accused observed the movements of prominent Hindu community leaders in the Shivamogga area. They observed specially city processions, celebrations and functions of the Hindu community. Then they identified Harsha as a prominent leader and active Bajrang Dal activist in the Segehati area and the Bharati colony area of Shivamogga. Then they proceeded to conduct a recce. They procured weapons. On the day of the murder, the accused chased Harsha with machetes in their hand, brutally assaulting him in full public view. And this is important because the aim was to terrorize people. The accused shouted a slogan, Kafir Bajrang Dal wale ko maaro. This is all mentioned in the NIA charge sheet. Such killings have become absolutely brutal and brazen in recent times. The kind of killings that one would hear of from states like Bengal and Kerala, for example, but they're becoming more pan-India now. The reason is the same class that will talk for months and years about an Akhlaq or a Gauri Lankesh will ignore these names like Harsha. Hindu activists who get killed for nothing but being Hindu, and proudly so. Intellectual covers are given to such crimes. Many brazenly say that these killings are a result of majoritarianism in India. The same kind of excuses that one made for terror in Kashmir, for example. And that is why Harsha is not the first or the last. Remember, in October 2019, Kamlesh Tiwari was killed in his own house over alleged blasphemy. There were legal proceedings ongoing, but still he was killed. In fact, blasphemy is a very easy reason to be outraged about and kill non-Muslims, because there is an exception and cover given to Muslim sentiments on blasphemy. In February 2021, Rinku Sharma was killed allegedly for participating in a Ram Mandir drive, similar to the cause against Harsha. January 2022, Kishan Bharwar, another Hindu worker who was killed for an objectionable Facebook post. Here too, he was arrested, released, made to apologize, but still killed. June 2022, how can we forget? Kanhaiya Lal beheaded for just supporting Nupur Sharma. And Umesh Kole also killed allegedly for backing Nupur Sharma. The effect of all of these crimes is the same. It terrorizes Hindus or any non-Muslim into submission, creates no-go areas either physically or figuratively, Remember the stone pelting and rioting over Hindu processions earlier in April this year. The larger point in the debate is simple. Hindu hate is real. It exists in India as much as any other evil between communities. And we cannot solve communal issues if we ignore hate from one side and even such brutal crimes and talk only about acts from another side. Before we go to our guests, here's more.
मैं इन सबको एक योजनाबद्ध एफर्ट के रूप में देखूं। ये एफर्ट मुसलमान युवक युवतियों के इंडोक्ट्रिनेशन से शुरू, उनको ये बताने से शुरू होती है कि जो भी मुसलमान नहीं है वो काफिर है और काफिर को मारना पुण्य है।
Our guest joining us today, Mohan Vishwa, Karnataka BJP spokesperson. Lavanya Balal is from the Congress party in the state. Sriraj Nair is VHP spokesperson. Arun Anand is consulting editor First Post. Amana Begum Ansari is a political and policy analyst, and Syed Asad Abbas is also one. Syed, let me come to you first up. You know, the problem is that crimes happen from both sides. But a hue and cry is created, an atmosphere of fear is created. The reputation of India is put at stake when, let's say, the crime happens from the majority community against minority community. Why are murders like those of Harsha going completely undiscussed? Is this not also a pattern that exists of Hindu hate?
Shivani ji, firstly, I'm very, very thankful to you that you picked up and raised this topic. Harsha comes from the land of Karnataka, where I stay as well. And what we saw with Harsha is very unfortunate. Those radical elements and those behind this murder, I'm very glad with the NIA charge sheet, and they must be put behind bars, which they already are. The fact of the matter, not just that, Shivani ji, many a times we see these youth from SDPI, PFI coming in time and again, causing such activities. NIA, as a matter of fact, has named them under Terror Act. It is high time that the BJP party keeps its promise and bans such radical outfits like
I'll come to that in just a bit. But Syed, what is very shocking is the level of radicalization is such that, let's say you feel aggrieved over an issue. Let's say you feel aggrieved over an issue like hijab, right? Now, of course, there are pros and cons to the hijab debate, and we've discussed that ad nauseum. The court has also ruled on it. It is being challenged in the Supreme Court. The way to avenge yourself, if I can use that term, which seems to be the motive here, on issues like CAA, NRC, which haven't even been implemented, by the way. CAA doesn't hurt Indian Muslims. NRC is something that every nation is entitled to conduct. In fact, it has been an idea that predates the BJP government at the center. But anyways, I'm not going into that. If you felt aggrieved for any of these issues, how does murdering Harsha help the Muslim community? I don't understand that. Look at the level of radicalization involved here.
Shivani, absolutely not. Why would it help any community? No community aspires any such thing. As a matter of fact, who are these radicalized youth to even do this? I truly believe, and I'm sure every community, every Indian believes, or every human believes, that they must be dealt with iron hands. And
we don't live in that utopia, unfortunately. Such elements, the likes of SDPI, PFI you mentioned, but even radical outfits, even very, orthodox Muslim outfits get a lot of support in India from opposition parties just because they are a vote bank. But this is not a vote bank issue, Syed.
Shivani, any political party which supports that, be it the BJP, Congress or JDS from my land of Karnataka, or any political party, must be dealt with accordingly, because if you're
How do
supporting
you
such
deal with a
activities,
political
it is
party?
nothing
If
short.
they've created vote banks on these issues, precisely these issues of minoritarianism and majoritarianism, then how do you deal with that political party?
Those who play such cards of majority or minority, any form of appeasement is absolutely wrong and highly condemnable. And also those political parties which come and fund such activities must be brought to justice, because these are the people, for the mere petty vote bank, are actually putting humanity in danger.
Precisely.
Not
Let
just
me
that,
take
there
that
was-
to Lavanya Balal of the Congress party before I open this up. Lavanya, the allegation that the Congress faces especially is that in your opposition to the BJP, which is of course, let's say, a pro-Hindu party, it has a certain Hindu ideology, a Hindutva ideology, and we can debate that ad nauseum. But in your opposition to the BJP, the Congress sometimes ignores what are very grave signs and grave dangers in Indian society, which is to brush under the carpet Hindu hate that is being fueled amidst the Muslim community, even by certain clerics. Clearly, these young boys, a lot of them are 20 odd something, they are being brainwashed into thinking that this is the way forward for Muslim community. It isn't.
Good evening, Shivani. You have inferred in your comments previously while talking to Syed Abbas that Congress is protecting the murderers of these youth. Let me clarify. We do not support anti-social elements. Congress has been demanding in Karnataka especially that the BJP ban the SDPI and the PFI. The question is, why isn't BJP banning these outfits if they are anti-national elements, if they are creating unrest in the state? Having said that, we are very glad the murderer of the boy in Nettur, Praveen
Harsha.
Nettur, has been arrested. We have demanded the arrest of these guys. And we also would like to remind everybody the failure of Karnataka's Home Minister, the intelligence failure of Karnataka's police to avoid this murder. And we have also seen how Harsha's murderers in the jail were getting a princely treatment with biryani and video calls and everything. We would also like to remind people the failure of the BJP government.
Yeah,
in
I'll come to
protecting our
BJP
youth,
on
in
that. My question is the politics that is played on minority versus majority issues. Is it not true that in the name of minoritarianism, we've had even terrorists being supported? And years and years and years of debate being held on those terrorists. Which
Shivani,
side of that debate was the Congress party?
I want you to clarify which terrorist has been supported by the Congress. This is a very serious allegation, Shivani.
No, I'm
and you have
saying
to
that
clarify.
debates on Yaqub Memon, whether he should be hanged or not, debates on Afzal Guru have taken place. And the problem is that all of it is done to assuage minority sentiment. Sentiment is in its own place. What we mustn't compromise with is anti-national activities and terror and crime. That's all I'm saying.
Shivani, are you claiming that Congress has nurtured these terrorists? Is that what your statement is?
No, I'm asking
Are
you,
you
which
saying
side of
we-
the debate have you been on when it comes to radicalization amongst the Muslim community? Whether it's in
Shivani,
Uttar Pradesh, whether it's in Karnataka, or anywhere
I want
else.
you to clarify this, Shivani. You are making a serious allegation. Are you saying Congress has supported the terrorists?
I'm
Please
asking
clarify.
you, what side of the debate have you been on when it comes to minority radicalization?
We have always been on the side of the oppressed. We have always been on the side of justice, Shivani. It's a very serious allegation you have been making on your show right
I've
now.
not made any allegation against you. I've asked you a question. Why are you getting so agitated?
Because you are inferring that Congress.
I'm asking
has
you a plain
supported
and simple
terrorists.
question.
I
Use your time to answer that question.
want you to go back to your own question and hear yourself.
Yeah, I'm
Shivani.
asking you. I'll
Please
repeat
be
that question. I'll ask it in a different
No.
way. When it comes to terrorism in Kashmir, which side of the debate has the Congress party been on?
We- Been on the side of justice. We have always been on the side of India, Shivani. Is that so difficult to comprehend?
No, it is difficult to comprehend. It's easy to say it in statements like these. But when stone pelters are defended as innocent youth, when those who attack the army are defended because they are being oppressed by the army, all of this is narrative that is purely because of majority versus minority. It has no other reason. Absolutely no other reason. Politics since the 1993 Mumbai blast, you look at politics over the 2008 Mumbai blast, all of it is basically minority appeasement that has happened. And that is why these crimes continue to become more brazen. Congress party is not alone in facing that charge. Several opposition parties have faced that charge. In Uttar Pradesh, the Samajwadi Party faced the charge of letting a lot of these people off. Those who were accused in bomb blasts because of electoral politics. That's the question I'm asking. Arun Anand, that's the larger debate here.
Double engine sarkar done, Shivani. Please
okay, I'll go to Mohan
You
Vishwa with that. Ravanya, fair point. I have questioned the BJP as much on Praveen Netaru's murder, on Harsha's murder as anybody else. I'll go to Mohan in just a bit. Arun Anand, the larger question here, it is time to acknowledge that anti-Hindu crimes need to be spoken about just as vociferously as any crime against a minority person in India. The imbalance in that debate, in that outrage is the problem.
I agree with you absolutely. There has been kind of an imbalance in these kind of debates where even an alleged attack on somebody who is a minority is highlighted a lot, whereas people who get butchered and that is brushed under the carpet. But there is a larger issue here. You are talking about radicalization. I think you need to understand that, and I also wanted the Congress spokesperson was saying something about Congress not being soft towards the terrorists. So I think probably they need to look at the way Kapil Sibal, while being in Congress, had stood for Bhullar. So, and there are a number of other incidents also. So she can Google it and she can find it. And I think we don't need to debate much over that. Having said that, the larger issue of radicalization is, I just want to share a data with you. While we keep on talking about radicalization, we only talk about this when there is a murder or when some incident happens. And in between, most of us, tend to ignore it. Between 2011 to 2013, 25,000 Wahhabis visited India, and on they conducted seminars throughout the country to spread Wahhabism, and $17 billion were spent. This is the data from basically WikiLeaks, and you can check it out. So this is the kind of radicalization which we are witnessing, and it's the manifestation of this radicalization is what you have seen in Udaipur. I'll give you another incident. You'll be shocked to know that in Udaipur there have been demonstrations in favor of Rohingyas, and this was much before this incident had happened where the tailor was beheaded. So these are the this manifestation of radicalization, and this radicalization is a part of a larger global radicalization. It is not merely an Indian problem or a domestic problem or a political problem.
Right.
It's the concept of ummah, which they are pursuing. And I just want to make one small point. The problem is right now that most of the Islamic schools of thought, so they are extremely conservative and they have a very Puritan approach. So the bigger crisis, I've been repeatedly saying this, is a crisis of progressive Muslim leadership in India.
Right.
And I think the parties like Congress and left, so they are one of the biggest stumbling blocks when it comes to promoting the progressive Muslim politics in India.
Yeah, absolutely. Amana Begum Ansari is one of those progressive Muslim voices. Amana, where is this hate going to lead to the Muslim community? And I think Arun Anand is right. There is a question being raised, for example, theological teachings being given to Muslims, not just in madrasas in India, where there's a debate raging, for example, in UP or in Assam, but across the country, in several European countries, in UK, and we've known what has happened in the US in the past. There is a problem. Where are these thoughts coming from that you have to, first of all, kill kafirs? This is not coming from thin air. It is coming from theology. And this is being used, killing of kafirs is being used as a means to get back. But this doesn't uplift Muslims in India. It instead, continues to keep them mired in this spiral of hate.
I agree, Shivani, and I would say that if you will read Devbandi theology, they say this is the God's word, God's law, and it is written in there that you have to fight with kafir until unless they accept the faith, they become a Muslim or they accept Allah's message. And they do not say that this is their interpretation. They tell to the Muslim child and kids that this is the interpretation of, this is the God's word basically. And also I would I would like to add that only 4% Indian Muslim kids go there to study, but those kids have a monopoly on mosques and masjids. So when they give the further sermon, this kind of message spread through the masses. Right. Besides it, let's come back to this issue of Harsha killing.
Right.
So this NI clearly stated that the culprit, not culprit, the accused developed a kind of hatred against the Hindu identity. I want to understand here why this hatred is getting stronger stronger in the minority communities and Muslim community. So I don't want it to only make about theology, because there is an entire system working here. You have an intellectual cover up. There are people who will propagate hatred against Hindu, just like Rana Ayub. She was calling Hindu terrorist on show on CNN, I guess, or to all those boys who were wearing the saffron. And these kind of statements actually give a message to those foot soldiers that what we have to do, what our next step would be. So these people propagate Hindu hatred, and the ground cadre goes ahead and kills such young men.
I think what is also happening,
Hindu.
Amana, connected to what you're saying, of course there are people who spread Hindu hatred, who will call every Bhagwadhari a terrorist, but will obviously absolve the crimes of someone from the minority community. Of course, those people are double-standard people. They've lost their reputations. They've lost their right to speak on any of these issues. They are exposed. But I think the other point also is, Amana, that there is a persecution complex that is being promoted by these people, that, oh, Muslims are in danger in India, Muslims are being bullied in India, Muslims are being terrorized in India. And I don't think, I mean, you are a Muslim, I don't think that there is any other country which has so many faiths living together, has such an ancient civilization of its own, which treats all religions equally. In fact, minority religions get treated a little bit above par in India.
Exactly. I even say Hindus give more freedom to Muslims than a Muslim would give to other Muslims. A Shia won't give this freedom to a Sunni Muslim. A Sunni Muslim won't give this freedom to another Muslim. But all the sects are living here peacefully, coexisting, and following their religious practices. This can only happen in India, but still we are living in a victimhood. And I want to specifically mention this Muslim elite role here, because they're supposed to fight against these elements.
Yes.
But instead of fighting those elements, what they do, they give the cover, they give them excuses, they propagate this Hindu hatred among the masses. That is the problem. You have a problem in every community, but you have also a liberal leadership which fights against it, which brings the reform, but we do not have that leadership.
Okay, let me take that to Shriraj Nair. Shriraj Nair, you are from VHP, one of those organizations which is much maligned. Some of your activities have even brought you in the crosshairs of the law, and as it should. If you do anything illegal, you should face the law. But BHP, Bajrang Dal are those Hindu outfits which are clearly on the radar of Islamic radicals. How does this charge sheet, which is revealing what it is revealing about Harsha, make you feel? And do you agree that the problem is that there is that those who have spread and normalized Hindu hate are also equally responsible for these crimes?
See, first of all, the biggest problem the country is facing is today's selective activism. Selective activism, in the sense we all know, the left Congress ecosystem, the way it supports this radicalized Islam, radicalized Muslims, is the biggest problem that we are facing. You rightly said, whether it is Abdul Guru's case, whether it is Kasab's case, and whether it is Yaqub Ahmed's case. It is the Congress senior leader of the Congress party who came out in open and supported this guy. In Mumbai, when the Mumbai attack happened and Kasab was seen attacking and killing people left, right, and center, it was Digvijay Singh, one of the senior most leaders, who came out and in open and blamed it directly on the Sant Parivar. So this all elements, radicalized elements, are being directly, indirectly encouraged by the left and the Congress elements, and that is the reason the country is facing this kind of problem. The other main issue is what we are seeing today is the leadership of the Muslim society. The leadership of the Muslim society, even educated leaders like Owaisi, they during the election times, they roam around with papers and data in their hands, and they tell how much they talk to the people, the kind of school dropouts they have, the kind of undergraduates they have, the backwardness they have in their society. Rather than addressing the core issues in their society, they are directly or indirectly helping this radicalized element, and this will remain backward and in turn get into terrorism and all kind of anti-national activities.
Unfortunately, we are talking about this even as a madrasa debate is ongoing in Assam, and the government is bulldozing and bringing down structures where religious teachings are being given, but where terror links have come to light. And there are excuses made even in those cases. Frankly, I don't think there's any other country in the world that is this soft on anti-national activities and terror, that too on government land, as is the case of many of these madrasas. But I'm running out of time. Mohan Vishwa, first answer the question that Lavanya Balal asked you. The BJP has been in power. Several BJP workers or Hindu activists have been murdered in your government. How are you better than anybody else? If you in government cannot stop it, then who are you to speak?
Anusha,
Shivani this side. 1 second. Mohan Vishwa, I don't know why you always get my name wrong. This is Shivani Gupta this side.
Okay, sorry. Shivani, see, this is the difference between BJP and Congress. Okay. See, what did we do in the case of Harsha? It has been 5.5 months. The case has been resolved, the NIA, and they have been filed a charge sheet, and the justice has been given to Harsha and his family. And in the case of Praveen Nettaro also, today there are 30 places in South Canara district where NIA has conducted raid and arrest has been made. And in the case of Fazil, where after Praveen Nettaro murder in the same place happened in Bengaluru, within 72 hours we were able to arrest the culprit. So this is the kind of justice we are giving, and this is the faces which the investigation is going on under our rule. But what did Congress do? Mr. Siddaramaiah withdraw more than 175 cases against his SDPA and PFI goons. Then Mr. Zamir Ahmad Khan, who openly distributes cash and who openly gives bond to release these SDPA, PFI goons when they attack Asha Karyakartas during COVID regime, and they never took any action against KJL, DJL riots, where Mr. Sampath Raj, who is from Congress, was directly responsible. So this is the kind of support Congress gives to these goons. Come on, she said, Congress should be shameful. There are a lot of incidents where Congress was supporting terrorists.
Okay, let her respond for 30 seconds. I have limited time, Lavanya.
Starting from Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was the first terrorist.
Okay, don't go that back. We don't need to go to Jinnah. Let's leave that aside.
No, I'm telling you,
let Lavanya respond.
Till now. So they were the one who supported, Yaqub Menon also in the court, and they were the one who supported Afzal Guru also in the court. And what kind of statement they are making? Okay, they should stop doing.
Syed Abbas wants to come in. Lavanya, unfortunately, I'm losing your audio. Syed Abbas.
Okay. Well, it's great to see my friend from the BJP give out so many summons. Who gave ticket to a terror accused in the parliament? Sadhvi Pragya Singh Thakur, who formed a coalition government in Kashmir with PDP, who you all leaders call a terror group, terror political activity. Sir, aap kare to pyar, dusre kare to aapke liye chamatkar. The fact of the matter, sir, you need to understand, you are in power today. You need to ban the SDPI, you need to ban the PFI. The fact is, sir, you cannot shout over me and get me down. You need to first stop giving tickets to criminals and terror accused and stop this hunger for politics and power. Shivani, he's speaking between me to trying to lower my voice. This shows that he's lost his argument. He's lost the debate today. The fact is, stop forming a government with terrorists. Sir, you need to stop forming government with terrorists. Like you call PDP,
but that does not, no, let's not go into that political mudslinging, because that does not solve the problem for us. I just give 30 seconds of final word to Arun Anand. Arun, you raised a very important point about the leadership. There is a crisis of Muslim leadership and it cannot come from anywhere else. And as you very rightly said, this is becoming a global pattern and phenomenon. What do you think? What can India do to deal with this? I have limited time, sir.
Yeah, there are only two things which need to be done. One is that the clergy, the Muslim clergy, has to be taken out of the public sphere, and they need not become the face of the Muslim community in India. And second thing, and the political parties who are operating through this Muslim clergy, they need to stop doing that. And it has to happen cutting across political lines.
Absolutely.
The second important thing which we need to do is we must be aware of the overall global pattern we must be conscious about it, because radicalization in India is not driven only domestically. Now it's a part of a larger global network. So we need to be part of that global effort to break that network. So I think these are the two things basically which we need to do.
Well, if people can be motivated enough to avenge the honor of their community by killing someone, it is a problem. Let's just accept that that is a problem. And that doesn't help anybody, Muslims or Hindus in India. That is what Harsha's murder reminds us of. I thank all of our guests for joining us. Moving on.